Welcome to the Viking Spotlight. This is a podcast about people, events, and projects in the North Canton City School District. I'm your host, Jeff Wendorf, and today we're thrilled to be talking to Mr. Phil Ogilvie, who teaches Culinary Arts, a career tech program at the high school, and also advises our Esports team at Hoover High School. Welcome to our podcast.
Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
Yeah, before we get into those two programs, tell us a little bit about yourself, teaching and so on at Hoover High School.
Basically at Hoover, this is my 15th year teaching the Culinary Arts program. I started late. I started in my mid-30s. I spent the better part of 2 decades bouncing around in restaurants all over the state. I've worked every job from the bottom to the top. Started off in dishes and busing, and has gone as far as to running multiple restaurants for companies and also doing research and creating new menu items for companies. So a lot of time in restaurants.
Yeah, very cool.
Which has really helped me with the different experiences and the educational aspect of it.
Sure. Our kids have a wealth of knowledge from you to understand that, and I assume a lot of them probably have a part-time job or something that in the industry, I'm sure. Most
of my students are actually right now are employed in restaurants, which is, in this economy especially, is nice because they're seeing their wages and the demand for workers spike in the industry. So it's been a good chance for them to get up ahead a little bit.
Yeah, great. Well, we had Mr. White on previously a couple times actually about career tech and so on. And tell us a little bit about the Culinary Arts program and how the 2 years work and all about your program.
Primarily, it's a 2-year program, juniors and seniors. We do have the option to start as a sophomore, just as like a one-class tester program. But the junior year is basically the cram session. The kids get a ton of knowledge junior year, anything from the basics of cooking to the basics of restaurant to safety and sanitation, which we stress tremendously because we do operate many food venues. So we are licensed by the health department. They have to come in and do their inspections just like with the cafeteria and with a regular restaurant. So my kids have to be on with the safety and sanitation. They learn how to create their own recipes, balance flavors, price out recipes, create menus, all that in junior year. And in their senior year, they actually operate their own business out of the culinary program.
Wow.
A couple kids will be in charge of the restaurant. A couple will be in charge of the food truck. A couple will be in charge of catering events. We have 2 catering events coming up next month. One's for 110 and one's for 240.
Wow.
I
full
have 2
lunch
students,
or dinner type of thing.
Full lunch. One's a lunch drop-off, and the other one is catering a Christmas party for 200 and some for Diebold.
Wow.
And my kids plan that, they execute that, they do all that themselves. They priced it, they did customer contacts, they'll do their own financials. That's just, trying to get them a foot into what operating a business actually looks like.
Right. No pressure there to have it right.
None whatsoever.
When you have actual customers and
Yeah, my kids, they can't, we can't make mistakes too often.
Right.
That's the nature of the job. So they get used to it early.
Very cool. And I know you do various things. I see emails to the high school staff or to staff once in a while. Hey, pizza day, or hey, come try this. And some very cool stuff that our kids are doing.
Thank you.
Well, that's neat. Well, so you mentioned the kids doing some actual things. We have a TriStar Cafe. What is that? How does it operate?
So the TriStar Cafe is our actual restaurant, which is open to the public. And right now we're open to the public and open to staff and seniors, usually about once a month, depending on the schedule. December's a hard month.
Sure.
But usually the rest of the months will be open at least 1 or 2 days a month so that people have a chance to come in and just sit down and have lunch during our regular lunch periods. And it's also the starting point for all the rest of our businesses.
Sure, yeah.
The food truck is the traveling TriStar.
Right.
We take that around wherever we can, find business, to do that. And then the kids all spin off of the TriStar base.
Right. That's very cool. So where do they see information about the TriStar and its hours and things? Just keep an eye on the website, or?
It goes out on all of our social media, and usually the Viking Views in the district is helpful enough to pass the word along also. Usually the first couple events of the year, we don't put out a lot of information just because we don't want the students to get flooded the first time. We kind of want to manage the chaos for a little bit if we can.
Right.
So, but they'll see more, especially second semester. We'll be putting more out all over the place wherever we can get the word out.
Yeah, very cool. And it's a hands-on program, and the kids are not sitting down a lot.
No.
They're busy. They're at it, and it's fun to walk by and watch them and smell what's going on. It's always fun. But you've received the endowment, the education endowment grants before, and tell us about some unique things that you've been able to do in the last few years.
Well, we've always been a proponent of taking the kids' interests anywhere in the culinary or anywhere in the food production business and letting them explore that. A couple years ago, we did get the Big Idea grant, and that was to do hydroponic and aquaponic gardening inside of our kitchen. Mm-hmm. So some of our students, we grow our own microgreens from seed. We grow, like right now we have, I think, basil, tomato, and cucumber all growing inside the kitchen.
Very cool.
That we've grown from seed, that the basil's ready now, the tomato and cucumber will be ready in a month or so, that we can actually use our own produce inside the program for our own events.
Oh, neat. That microgreens is a big business now, isn't it?
It is. It is very nutritious, very healthy, very easy to grow, and a lot of return on investment, so the kids, and it's a different aspect, but it does pique a lot of interest with a lot of students, not only mine, but students just walk in the hall. We have them grown in a big window in the hallway.
Right.
So anytime the kids see it, they stop and take a look and try to figure out what's going on.
Yeah, that's neat. Very cool. Well, you mentioned the food truck and the traveling TriStar, and tell us a little bit more about that and some places you've been or what kind of offerings you have. And I know you've had a few different menus out of the traveling TriStar, but what's your focus with that?
So the traveling TriStar has been, it's really set up to go anywhere. Right now, as of right now, we have 5 menus, and they're anywhere from carnival food to soups for the winter, and then we have a couple lunch menus. We've done anything from staff events here at the high school. We've done district or statewide conferences over at Glen Oak when they had it.
Right.
We've done winter festivals in North Canton. And we've been as far up as WKYC Studios up in Cleveland. We took the truck up there one year and did a full luncheon out in their parking lot. So that's a really good experience for the kids to get just on a grassroots, startup level. It's something that they can foresee themselves doing next year, the year after, as opposed to spending 3 or 4 years in school and then 4 or 5 years working for somebody else and then trying to find financing for a brick and mortar restaurant. That's something they think that's attainable soon. And it gives them a little more encouragement, to be able to go out there and do things on their own.
Sure. A panel truck is a lot lower investment level or entry level than a restaurant.
And it's you can start, it's amazing. You can start even one of those small tow behinds, like with a pizza oven on it, you can start those for about $40.
Wow.
And licensure, and then you're out the door, you're started. You're getting work and you're getting clients. So it's definitely something that's in reach for the students shortly after they get themselves established. It doesn't take a lot of future planning.
Yep, and they're able to find a specific sector or product that they're interested in. I know there's tons of coffee trucks around, and there's one that local realtor likes to bring by for staff in the district once in a while, and he's strictly coffee.
Yep.
And or other things, ice cream and all of those kind of things.
They're cool. Great little niches. We've seen them at wedding receptions. We've seen them in businesses. We've seen them just set up in parking lots, or in Hartville, I believe there's a whole area where food trucks just come all summer and set up.
Right.
And it's a permanent fixture. Yeah. So, it's a really versatile section, and it's really good for the kids to learn. Yeah,
I was actually at a wedding last summer, and instead of a sit-down meal, they had food trucks.
Okay.
And, so you had 4 different, one was pulled pork, one was hot dogs, believe it or not, at a wedding, and, one was chicken. And so they had a pretty neat selection of food trucks that provided the meal for the wedding, the reception. So it was kind of fun. Yeah. Kind of fun. Well, neat. Well, so what about your kids that have graduated? What kind of career paths have they leaned towards? And for the most part, anything super unique? What about your kids that graduated?
I have a couple that have... I have a good chunk that have gone on to culinary school and a good chunk that have gone on to work in restaurants. I do have a few standouts. One girl that I had a few years back, she actually went on to food science. She went to, I think it was Iowa or Indiana, one of the I's. She creates her own food products for companies now, is what she does. Wow. Yeah. I've had 2 or 3 students who have gone away and after a couple years of culinary school have opened their own restaurants. One has a pizza menu restaurant right up on Talmadge Avenue in Akron, and a couple others are out of state but are opening their own businesses.
Sure.
I have one young lady who was a phenomenal baker who went on to the Art Institute of Pittsburgh and won multiple competitions there, including one international competition. and then is now, she does pastry and bakery for multiple high-end restaurants in the Pittsburgh area out of her little kitchen.
No kidding.
Just produces them and ships them out. So I've had a lot of really good kids, a lot of standout students that have come out of the program. Quite proud of them.
Very cool. And just like any other career tech program, maybe some kids get a taste, no pun intended, a taste for their career and so on and decide, that's not for me, which is okay too. But what an opportunity before they have to make a huge investment and so on. So, well, your leadership and your coaching in that area has been very cool.
Thank you.
Anything else you want to share about the Culinary Arts program?
It's like you said, it's a on-the-go program. It's always changing. It's ever being flexible, and just like the industry itself, it's never the same thing twice.
Yeah.
The kids I have this year have been put through the paces after the last couple of years of all the restrictions and lockdowns and everything like that. Trying to get back up and running for the first year this year has been an incredible challenge.
Right.
But the kids that I have been doing a great job with it. I'm, really happy with them.
Yeah. Very cool. Two thoughts that I had is you started the food truck long before COVID started, and I think that is what forced some local restaurants into the food truck business is COVID. And we were ahead of that curve a little bit and had some experience with that. So that was a great thing. And then our kids and the things that you do in your program are very unique, and we appreciate that so much. And
Thank you.
That's been fun. So another neat thing that you do is you're also our esports coach.
Correct.
And,
myself and Jessica Ledford.
Yeah, right. So tell us a little bit about esports. This is kind of a new thing in the last 3 or 4 years in high schools and in colleges. So tell us about our program.
So right now we have, we play after school Monday through Thursday. We have seven games that are available for the kids. The kids come in and they play competitive video games, anything from shooting games to fighting games to chess. We have a chess team. And they meet once a week. They play once a week. They play different schools all around the state. I believe at last count, the company that we play with has 180 schools involved.
Wow.
It's a massive undertaking. We just finished playoffs for this semester last week. Unfortunately, we did not do amazingly well. First round of the playoffs, we bowed out. But that isn't that's because of the competition that we have. A lot of the schools, with the graduation and with the moving of players, 1 year will be great, and 1 year will be at the bottom, and the next year will be in the middle. This is our third season of esports. We play 2 seasons a year so that students that are involved in sports or band or things like that don't miss it. In our first season, we actually had a team finish second in the state in a game called Valorant.
Okay.
All last year, all of our teams were playoff bound. Every team that we had made playoffs at least for the first round, and this year we had a little bit of a reset where we had some younger kids come in and some kids graduate. So we had a couple teams that made playoffs, but again, first round bow out, and it was a learning experience.
Sure. Yeah. Well, and when you get that level of competition, you're going to have ups and downs and so on. Now, a high school program, basically 9 through 12 on the high school esports team, but you also have some opportunity for middle school, I understand.
Correct. There's the opportunity to create a middle school program, which would play a little bit different games than the high school does. The company that we work for always makes sure the games are more age appropriate.
Sure.
So the middle school games are more along the lines of Mario Kart and things like that aren't as combative, whereas the high school games are the ones that are more attuned to what the colleges play. In lieu of that, we also have the opportunity, I was just discussing this with the ESO, Esports Ohio today, students who are 13 and in 7th grade can actually play on the high school team. So if we don't have enough interest to start a middle school team, we can bring a couple kids up here, and they can actually join the high schoolers and start playing competitively in 7th grade. Wow,
neat. So I think about how many kids involved in our high school program?
Give or take, we've had between, this semester I think was a little bit low, we had about 65. A couple semesters ago, we were in the low 80s or mid 80s.
Wow, that's our track team.
Well, yeah. Well, we can
field
2 or 3 teams per game
Yeah.
And most teams are 5 or 6 people. So, each game is going to be 10 students at least, plus alternates. And so you get a lot of kids involved really.
It's great
really
that
rapidly.
they all can participate. So you have teams, 5 to 10 participate, or about 5 on
Correct.
a team.
Yeah, most games are 5 or 6, and that's a JV and a varsity level. And then you can also have a club team just for kind of like a practice or for fun.
Yeah. Yep. Okay. So can they compete as individuals as well?
Most of the games are team-based.
Okay.
And honestly, the games that are set up for individual play, like Super Smash Brothers or chess, for example, you do field a 5-person team, and while you're playing individually, it's the best 3 out of 5 takes the day.
Right. Yeah. A little bit like golf.
Right.
Basically.
Yeah. We do play all 5
scores,
matches every week.
Scoring.
Yeah. We play all 5 matches every day just so that everyone gets to play, and there's always that option for someone doesn't get shut out on a weekly basis. But yeah, even the games that are individually based are set up on a team level.
Okay. So I didn't catch it. So seasons, you have a fall season.
Yes.
And then a spring season or a winter spring?
Spring. We usually start about, fall season usually runs from September through end of November. And then the spring season starts the end of January and runs through early May.
Okay.
And then we have regionals and state competitions, which will also be in May, trying to get those, crammed in before graduation and before all the seniors leave.
Right. Yeah, exactly. That gets to be a hectic time in there.
Yeah.
So anywhere 60 to 80 or plus kids, how many, just curious, how many of those kids would you guess either don't play athletics or are involved in the band or music programs or vocal music?
We have such a cross section of the school. I can say that, last year we had in one game in one room on a Wednesday night, we had athletes, we had drama club kids, we had NHS students, we had kids that didn't participate in anything.
Sure.
We had, GSA members. It was all playing together, all communicating together in one room. We just get such a huge cross section. Yeah. Band kids are always sprinting down to our room after band rehearsals over, trying to get there in time to play for the day. Right. So I can't name one section of the school that we don't have students who participate from.
Right. That's awesome. That's why the reason I ask is one, it gives an opportunity for kids that aren't typically in music or fine arts nor in athletics an opportunity to be involved in a program and compete for the school and themselves. So
yeah. It's one more place around the school where kids can find a belonging or a home that wouldn't normally have one. Right.
There's a high correlation to co-curricular, extracurriculars, and academic achievement. So this gives another opportunity for that. Neat stuff. So as far as competitions, do we go somewhere? Do we travel, or is it strictly an online competition? If we play another school, how does that work?
So our weekly competitions are all online. We meet in the same room every day, Monday through Thursday, and different teams rotate, and they play online another team from across the state. It could be Shaker, it could be Louisville, it could be Bedford, it could be Alliance. We have teams right next to us or teams up in Cleveland.
Sure. Could be 5 miles, could be 105. Yeah.
And then usually for the regional competitions or the playoffs, we do those in person.
Okay.
Last year, the fall playoffs were in Cleveland up at the Cavaliers Esports Arena.
Neat.
And the spring playoffs were at Mount Union College.
Right.
And then the state competitions last year were at the University of Akron. They have a beautiful facility. And everybody who qualified for states came up to Akron and played there. Okay. I'm not sure exactly where the spring regionals or states will be yet. They haven't announced it, but those will be in-person playoffs again, so that'll be nice.
Very cool. So you mentioned Mount Union, you mentioned Akron, and I know that was our next question is tell us about college level. I know we've had some kids in the past with some scholarship opportunities for esports and some other opportunities.
I believe we have 3 kids right now from last year who are playing on scholarship at a university.
Wow.
A lot of the universities use esports. It's a great recruitment and marketing tool. Using the University of Akron as an example, they have 50 students, I believe, on their competitive roster. In their esports club, they have 2,500.
Wow.
All of those kids, most of those kids, I'll venture, saw them play online, and that's why they went there. Now, Akron use it. It's not a normal example. I mean, they have been in one of the games, Rocket League, they were state champions, 3 years, I think, consecutively.
Wow.
So a lot of people saw them. A lot of people got that, view of them playing, and that's why they have such a large draw. But a lot of times they treat their esports kids like athletes. They get scholarships. They have their own study areas, their own dorms. They have scheduling, ahead of the rest of the students, like an honor student would have or an athlete would have. And,
wow,
it's really becoming more of a mainstream example to treat your esports students like they're athletes, because it's a huge draw and you don't have to travel. Like the football team has to play at home 1 week and then in Northwestern 1 week.
Right. Yeah.
These kids play from home every week.
Yeah.
And anybody across the world can see it.
Right. That's very cool. So initially, and thinking of travel and all that is, the club or the district or the university makes an investment in some hardware up front, but other than that, it's team stuff, and that's very cool as far as a return on investment for getting top-notch kids to their university. Very cool.
Oh yeah, no, it's been great. During the regional competition last year, actually, a couple of the recruiters were there watching, and it's fun to watch the kids' faces when somebody walks up and hands them a business card and goes, "Hey, I'm from this school. I think we can help you with your tuition if you want to come play for us." And just to see the smile on the kid's face when they get that contact is amazing.
Yeah, that's very neat, and I got to say, such a different world. And I used, when my son's 30, but when we used to play and, all that online, I dabbled and played online and not online, actually, on my controller. It wasn't online,
right?
But in front of my TV. But that was, 100 years ago. But it's such a different world that a huge section of our community, society doesn't participate in.
Yeah.
Nor do you see it, basically. You don't see it on TV. You don't see, you see musicals, you see athletics on TV and in the media and stuff. But this is a world that our younger folks know, not so much the older folks.
Right.
It's a generational piece. But from what I understand, I don't know if you know this, what percent of our kids' parents play, either with them or so on?
I don't have specifics on that. I've heard a couple of the students who, they play with their parents once in a while. I know I'm guilty. My son and I play together all the time.
That's great.
I've had a couple parents who have asked to float in and watch the kids play after school, and they always come in and, just kind of sit there and they're in awe about how the thing actually works.
Right.
They're used to seeing their kids play at home. And then when they come in and see it actually as an organized structure with the teamwork and the communication and everything like that, they're always in shock.
Yeah.
But no, I've heard from a lot of kids that they play and their parents play, so that gives them more of an understanding. The parents are always the wild card. They either love the fact that their kids are involved, or they're leery about, they're playing video games. Is that okay? Is it taken away from their schoolwork?
Right.
But I've found actually, looked at the statistics and I've talked to our kids, and I've actually found that the kids who play competitively at school actually spend less time playing frivolously at home.
Right.
So it sounds weird to say that joining the esports team causes them to play less,
right?
But it does. And then, of course, with our academic standards, where the kids have to remain eligible, just like athletics.
Sure.
They have to stay focused on their schoolwork, so they can't really slack off in that area either. So we're winning the parents over little by little.
Yeah, neat. So how would the general public or a parent or somebody in North Canton find out more about esports at Hoover? Is there a website? Is there a standing site? Do you have a team site?
Right now, we're working on streaming sites. We do have a Twitch channel that we will be able to stream on starting next semester.
Okay.
We just have a couple hardware issues that we have to overcome.
Okay.
For the spring semester, we're actually going to have our student meeting on the 12th of December this year. And then we'll actually set up a parent meeting or an informational meeting. We'll put the information out on the Schoology page, and I assume the district if they'll be nice enough to help us out, we'll get it out there. So if anybody who wants to can jump in and ask questions. Okay. We'll do a Google Meet, and parents can feel free, or anybody from the community can feel free just to jump on and see what we do and ask whatever questions they have.
Cool. So do you foresee a public or a superintendent login or to watch an online competition? Is that something that's out there? Or?
I would love to see. My goal for this semester is to actually have the games, if not up and running live, at least up and running later on in the day, so that parents could see how everything went.
Sure.
As far as the playoffs and the regionals and everything like that, those are already streamed by the host stadium wherever we go, and we usually try to get the word out pretty good to the parents for those so they can watch, which is one of the really nice things. You don't have to travel with a team. even when we go somewhere to see what they're doing. You can watch it with a 30-second delay. You can see exactly what's going on right when it happens.
Fascinating.
So it makes it nice. I get a lot of parents. The first time we made regionals, a lot of parents were on the phone, calling or texting or emailing or whatever, and it was really nice to get that instantaneous, feedback with them so that they knew exactly what their kid was doing. So
right. That's very cool. Very cool. Well, that's interesting and fascinating that our kids are involved in that and so on, and look forward to either coming up and watching in person or being able to watch some pieces online. Is there team standings and league standings and all that on Esports Ohio?
We for the team standings, we use a website called UGC, which requires a login. But as soon as we get everything up and running on the streaming channel and things like that, then we'll have more information readily available to the public and to the parents so that they can keep track of it.
Very cool. Yep. I didn't know if Esports Ohio tracked team standings or records or any of that kind of stuff.
Yeah, we do that. We just have it through there's a system that we use to throw our games together. They build schedules and they build playoffs and things like that for us. So
good. And I'm asking crazy questions. They just pop in my mind.
Fine.
Are there referees?
No. The kids are well aware of the rules. The kids are, basically monitor themselves. The coaches are expected to be in the room with them, making sure everything goes well. And then we have a separate committee for each game that if there's any rule violations, we investigate it and go through and make any any necessary, not negative, any necessary adjustments or any necessary, consequences from things that happened.
Sure. Very cool. Fascinating. That's great that we have so many kids involved and that you're helping lead that with your other coaches, and just a great thing for our kids to be involved in and have an opportunity for scholarship and those things. So, well, we'll keep an eye out for some communications. Anything else you want to add about esports?
Just the fact that for me personally, seeing the kids that have shown up for it, you always have a picture of what you think your gamer kid's going to be in your head.
Yeah.
And then watching 60 to 80 kids show up who don't know each other, don't hang out together, don't do anything together, and slowly over the semester, they start to click.
Right.
It's been really actually as much fun for me as I think as it has been for them.
Yeah.
So
pretty cool. So you can't walk down the hall and see the clicks of, there's the jocks, there's the band kids, you can't pick out the esports kids, can you?
No. And honestly, walking down the hall in the schools between classes, I get so many, hey, how you doing? What do we got? We got a game this week. We got this week. What's tomorrow? What's today? And it's just, It's been fun to keep up with everybody and try to, see who's where.
It's taken all the pre folks who judge people by what group they belong to and what they look like, and that's very cool.
Yeah,
and much needed in today's society.
Anybody who walked into one of our games wouldn't be able to tell who came from what section of society or what section of the school or anything like that, because they're just one team working together for the goal, and that's it.
That's very cool. Viking Esports.
Yes.
There you go. Awesome. Well, we sure do appreciate you being here today. We've learned some fascinating things about both our culinary program and esports at Hoover. So we appreciate what you do every day with our kids, and both those programs are unique, and I'm sure neither one are boring.
No.
And that's very cool, and the things you get to do to be innovative in both of those programs are very cool, and I know our kids appreciate it, and we do too as a district. So thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yep. And, we'll keep an eye on communications about esports and both programs about, the TriStar and other things, but also about esports. So we'll keep an eye on social media and our media to share those items. And perfect. Thanks. And we thank our listeners for joining us today. And the podcast is a great way to, as always, to share information about our district and about our programs and kids and our residents and families. And if you have questions or about our podcast or want to suggest a topic for us to cover, please make sure to let us know through an email at vikingspotlight@northcantonschools.org. And we also welcome your thoughts about esports or culinary program. And if you want to schedule a catering thing, just let us know, and we'll make sure that Mr. Ogilvie and the kids get involved and go. So, and I'm sure are you cooking at home for Thanksgiving?
Actually, I'm off for Thanksgiving. I do Easter. My wife does Thanksgiving, so we switch.
The chef needs off a little bit of time, right?
That's it.
That's great. Well, we wish you a happy Thanksgiving, and everybody out in Viking land, happy Thanksgiving. And we certainly have a lot to be thankful for in our district and in our community. So Thanks again. Go Vikings.